Hi, I'm Linda Quinlan.
Hi, I'm Keith Ghostland.
I'm Ann Charles. Welcome to All Things LGBTQ. We're taping in Montpelier, Vermont, which we recognize as unceded Indigenous land. It is Tuesday, April 15th. And before we start the show formally, I want to acknowledge the sad passing of our good friend Marcia Bancroft. She died April 5th at the age of 87. A memorial service will occur at a later date at the Unitarian Universalist Church. And I have two pictures I'd like to show you. She was a dedicated member of Rainbow Umbrella of Central Vermont in the Women's Discussion Group. And at the end of the Women's Discussion Group, another member brought in her little puppy named Teddy, and Teddy headed right for Marcia, and there's a picture of Marcia and Teddy. The second picture I'd like to show is a happier time. Sometimes the group goes out to dinner after our meeting, and here's one of our dinners at the Wayside, where we were all in solidarity and good sistership. So rest in peace, Marcia. We're all going to miss you.
Yes. She was a gem.
She was kind, she was generous, she was sweet. It's a big loss for us all.
And for years, her profession was working as an advocate for people with disabilities, physical and mental, and she was a strong spokesperson for people whose voices weren't always heard.
Yeah.
And she worked in prisons. I mean, really
Yep.
an amazing professional record. But the obituary is going to be coming out, and it lists all the details of her life. So, Linda,
I know.
local news, please.
I know. I'll start off with bad news.
Oh, you're not
Always.
doing local. I'm sorry, you're national.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I was about to shift aisles.
Let's do that. It'll be
Yeah.
fun. Okay. Naples Pride has sued the city of Naples after the Florida municipality ramped up security costs for this year's event. City officials said opposition to the event at meetings prompted the city's action, and that there were likely to be excessive protests at this event in the midst of rising anti-transgender sentiment in Florida.
Anti-transgender sentiment everywhere.
Yeah.
In the country, yeah.
In the world.
It keeps growing.
And as for Colorado, marriage equality is officially the law of the land in Colorado after Democratic Governor Jared Polis signed a law repealing a provision in the state constitution that banned marriages between same-sex couples. So good for him. And dozens of Virginia clinicians are accusing Donald Trump of punishing trans service people. The workplace, according to them, is cruel, involves censorship, and full of fear. 50 clinicians of the VA have signed on to that. And the Trump administration sharpened its campaign against transgender people by targeting their health care, Friday issuing a new federal letter designed to help states eliminate Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming care for minors. It is the administration's latest move in a relentless effort to legislate trans people out of public life. So.
I was going to say, Vermont's Attorney General is part of the lawsuit challenging some of those executive orders.
Yeah. And you know, there was this whole thing with, you know, the helicopter that went down.
Yes.
And they were trying to blame Joe Ellis, a transgender Army Black Hawk pilot, for that accident. She wasn't even there. She
Exactly.
wasn't even the pilot. But, you know, she's suing.
Which helicopter that went down? The one in Washington,
The
D.C.?
Black Hawk in D.C. over the Potomac.
Yeah. She's been a member of the Virginia Army National Guard since 2019, and the Department of Defense noted that no one from the Virginia Guard unit was in that helicopter. So they just said she was there. They just said, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
You know, transgender person was flying that plane and she crashed it.
Talk about your
They
fake news.
crashed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's suing. I don't know if she'll get anywhere, but she's suing.
That's the thing. I think all we're speaking as one voice when we say we have to resist about everything at every turn.
And then Melissa Calhoun, a teacher at Satellite High School in Broward County, which is in Florida, was denied a contract renewal for her 2025-26 school year after allegedly calling a student by their preferred name without their parents' permission. She is believed to be the first fired for refusing to comply with the state's forced outing policy. So, not good news there. And there was a story I wanted to make sure. Oh, this is a news story. I think I just saw it today. It may have come out earlier. But the federal case against a Texas doctor accused of illegally leaking that a Houston hospital was secretly performing transgender surgeries on kids was dropped Friday, weeks before the trial was set to begin. U.S. District Attorney Judge David Hittner signed off on prosecutors' request to throw out all of his felony charges for doing this. His name is Dr. Ethan Haim, and he's 34. And you know, I saw him in this clip, and he was like, I wanted to reach in the screen and just smack him. I mean, he was like smug. He was like, you know.
Transphobic.
Well, yeah, because he leaked all this information, and he was being sued because he didn't have any parent agreement to
Right.
you know,
Reveal it.
to do it. And so our lovely new Justice Department just threw out his case. Sorry, no case here, done.
I was going to say that's very similar to what is going on in Maine that I'll be reporting on later, where they censored the Republican representative in the House for disclosing information about a minor, including name, school, etc., on their Facebook page.
Yep.
And they tried to turn it around saying, oh, you're censoring them because they spoke out against trans athletes. It's like, no, that's not the issue. The issue was you disclosed information that you
Yep.
did not have the right to do.
And you know, I hope they're having a state trial and not a federal, because it'll be thrown out as well. And lastly, I just want to say, and this is sort of on a sort of sad, sick, weird, maybe even kind of funny.
Oh, now we're all keyed up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure which emotion to bring out yet.
Well, when I tell you, you'll get it. But anyway, Pastor Andrew Isker, a Christian nationalist pastor in Tennessee, revealed that he refuses to pass through the gay beam at the airport scanners
Oh, yes,
because
I
he
saw
fears
this.
they will make him gay.
Yeah.
There we go.
The X-ray machines. I didn't know our recruitment had gone that far.
Anyway, so I'm
What a
going
hoot.
to leave you to Keith now to do
Yeah,
your-
thank you. Okay, so April is Sexual Violence Awareness Month. And there are times that we're really unaware of how rape culture has permeated. You know, do you read your horoscope in the morning? There's one of the signs of the zodiac that is built upon a rape myth. Which one might that be? Anne's already going through,
I
okay,
know.
which one and how can I make the connection? First thing is May 6th would have been Brenda Churchill's birthday. The House of Representatives is going to be introducing a joint resolution commemorating Brenda and her work. The House convenes at 10 in the morning. They have some usual business things that they do, so I'm not sure exactly when this is going to happen. But Speaker Gerald Kowinski said, we are all invited please come. So, Rainbow Umbrella, the Women's Discussion Group. What are you discussing? Do you have a topic?
Well, we've had several topics. Mainly, the last 2 meetings we've been talking about our friend and her health struggles and death. So we're getting back in the groove next time. We had a clip about the Daughters of Bilitis. But,
Ooh.
you know,
It
we've
was so
sent.
depressing.
Well, not really. It was informative, but we sent it around so many times. We're gonna get. We watched it several times, so we're gonna find another clip.
And the book discussion group.
Yes,
And the book is?
by Rabin Ahmadine. His book about AIDS is going to come to me.
We'll
Think of it, think of it.
we'll come back.
Thank you.
Yes, okay. I know how that is, trust me. Because when I was going through my stories, it's like, what,
It's not safekeep, is it?
No.
Okay.
No, that was last time.
Rainbow Bridge Community Center, they're doing phenomenal things. One of the things that I stumbled on while you were gone, we had taught, and welcome back, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
How much we missed momentum. How
I know.
all of a sudden they disappeared. Well, on Thursdays
I'm going
from
to
10 to
that.
noon is the Queer Coffee Class.
I'm going to that.
Okay.
It's for seniors.
Yeah, 50
50
plus.
plus.
Yep.
Linda's kind of been recruited.
I was going to
Yeah?
say, we barely qualify. And then on Tuesday, April 22nd, 5:30 to 8 p.m., back at Pearl Street Pizza is the youth open mic night. So there we are. Mosaic, and Mosaic is the sexual violence program, Central Vermont, based in Barrie. April 30th is Denim Day. Do you know about this?
Yep.
It's international, so join us in wearing jeans to show support for sexual violence. Denim Day is in response to an Italian Supreme Court that overturned a rape conviction, saying the victim's jeans were too tight and must have been taken off willingly. So, and on May 9th, starting at 4:30 at the State House, End the Violence, Take Back the Night. And there will be speakers, a rally, and then there will be a march down State Street going up to Hubbard Park, the old shelter, where it will be a speak out for people. Rutland County Pride, and the same as Rainbow Bridge Community Center, they're doing phenomenal work. Now, I hope you saw the interview with their executive director about what they're doing now and their initiative going forward to try and establish a health care and mental health clinic for the queer communities. Thank you. But on Friday, April 25th, this is their Divas, a night of celebrity impersonation. Tickets are selling out. And it says, fabulous cast will channel legendary stars, serving up fierce looks and show-stopping performances. But also, on Saturday, June 21st, is their Pride Festival, and they are looking for people to volunteer. Do you want to be a vendor? Do you want to march in the parade? Can you help?
Let's bring our car.
Hold that thought. May 10th at the Wilson Castle is a Regency affair, and this is a night of Regency-inspired line dancing, light hors d'oeuvres, and crowning of the Emerald of the City. However, tickets are $125.
I think I'll pass that one.
But they sell out.
I bet they do.
So but holding on to that thought of getting, the vehicle ready, St. Albans Pride, first weekend in June, we've been invited not only to be in the parade, but they've offered us a table.
I saw that interview, and I was so impressed by that guest that you had, Keith. Scott Bushy.
Scott Bushy.
It's really, watch the interview.
Well, and Scott is working with VermontQueer.org to do what we have said for years we need, which is a statewide calendar. And because I'm running out of time here. Linda should have been cutting me off.
Soon.
April 25th, 2 to 5 p.m., Davis Family Library, Middlebury College, 25th anniversary, Vermont Freedom to Marry Civil Unions. So,
Wow.
and starting at 3 o'clock, there will be a panel of the people who worked on Freedom to Marry, who will be presenting their stories about how it happened.
And what about your quiz, your
Trivia.
trivia?
What about my trivia?
You didn't say anything about it,
Yeah, I
did you?
did.
Sure.
Your horoscope, rape culture.
Oh, that was the one. Oh,
That was
okay.
the trivia.
Okay,
Which
Okay.
sign of the zodiac is based upon a rape myth?
okay, sorry.
We're batting 1,000 on this show.
I know.
Let me.
I didn't realize
I-
that was,
I
I
have-
heard it, but,
I've missed them.
yeah.
No kidding.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of memory loss, Kool-Aids by
Oh,
Rami
okay.
Amadine.
Okay.
It's his debut novel about AIDS, the Civil War in Lebanon. It's really, I'm
Okay.
really looking forward to reading it.
We read a really good book going down to
Yes.
North Carolina called Snow,
By Orhan Pamuk. It's not LGBTQ, it's very good
but
though.
it's very good.
I'd like to start the world news with a brief statement expressing my outrage at the ongoing war in Gaza, the genocide that the U.S. is complicit in.
Yep.
There's so much awful stuff going on in the world right now. I'd like to remind us that that is absolutely outrageous and unacceptable. I saw a Facebook meme that said, when there's no red line at genocide, there's no red line at fascism. But I'm hoping for a good result in the U.S. and very discouraged about Gaza.
Well-
But we have to remember it.
I was going to say, and thank you for bringing it up again, because if you look at what the federal administration is currently doing, they're trying to silence voices just like yours.
Oh, you are so right.
So, thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you. So let's go to world news. I got this from Linda. DC worldwide organizers warn transgender visitors to the U.S. of potential travel risks.
Yep.
No kidding. It really, when reading this article, I recognized what a difficult position they're in because they're trying to encourage people to come and to have a united front. And so they're urging that transgender members of the community make thoughtful decisions given the new restrictions on trans travelers. Now, this is what they said, the Capital Pride Alliance. I should tell you, World Pride is going to occur, it's coming right up on June 8th. The festivities begin on May 17th and go through June 8th. And the Capital Pride Alliance, which is organizing it, says passports with an X gender marker remain valid for travel under international standards. But a recent U.S. State Department memo now requires visa applicants to list their sex assigned at birth, a change that could impact some trans and non-binary travelers. And the mayor's office in Washington, the mayor's office of LGBTQ affairs, says we are proud to welcome more than 3 million visitors to Washington, D.C. for World Pride 25. Our government agencies are working diligently with community organizers to ensure that World Pride is a safe, accessible, and bold celebration of our community. We're prepared and committed to supporting World Pride events, including the Human Rights Conference, parades, festivals, high heel races, sports tournaments, and more. Now, let me recall, Susan's been kind of reporting on this. Oh, and thank you, Susan, for doing a great job.
It was great.
You had great dynamic together. Several
thank
people
you.
remarked on it.
Thank you.
Germany and several other countries have already issued a formal travel warning for trans and non-binary citizens, citing federal restrictions to gender recognition and documentation. Immigration advocates have warned that a State Department memo, which I just talked about, signed by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, could functionally ban trans travelers from obtaining U.S. visas, especially for international LGBTQ plus events like World Pride. And they're really in a difficult position, and the story I'm going to talk to you about now kind of gives the lie to their welcoming message. I'd like to show you a picture now of Bells Larson, who is a Canadian musician, and he just canceled, they just canceled their U.S. tour due to anti-trans visa rules, and people have some very strong feelings about it. There's a lot of outrage about this canceled tour. On Friday, the Canadian musician announced that he had to cancel his upcoming U.S. tour dates over visa complications. In a lengthy Instagram post, Bell shared that the American Federation of Musicians emailed him that he could no longer apply for a visa because U.S. immigration now only recognizes identification that corresponds with one's assigned sex at birth. So, Capital Pride is saying, oh, it's okay, it's illegal, but then this Canadian musician just got a message to the contrary. To put it super plainly, Bell said, because I'm trans and have an M on my passport, I can't tour the States. I hesitate to include a right now or an anyone or any more at the end of my previous sentence because in this socio-political climate, I truly don't know which phrasing holds more truth. The irony of this announcement falling exactly 2 weeks before the release of my album, which is about my transition, is not lost on me. So, I don't know.
Really quickly, I have gender X markers on both my Vermont ID and my passport. I have real concerns about if I go to visit in Canada, what I'm going to encounter trying to get back across the border, because most of these countries are telling people who have a non-binary, transgender, check with the embassy, reconsider if you're coming to America, because if you're in the system with a binary, all of a sudden you're non-binary, you lied on your application, what are you trying to conceal? And you can find yourself, at least case scenario, being detained.
I know.
Yep.
So, I think World Pride, I feel bad for them,
Yeah.
but I think caution is an understatement. All right, now let's go to more bad news from Europe. Here's Manchester, where an angry mob has rampaged a trans picnic, burning pride flags and threatening to stab people.
Yeah.
The picnickers had gathered for sunshine and good food. Then the strangers arrived. The group behind the event, Trans Mutual Aid Manchester in England, held a trans picnic in the park event last Thursday. Though the organizers said the picnic featured sunshine and lovely food, as I just said, they said a group of men tried violently to harass and intimidate picnickers. The first pair turned down a Progress Pride flag they had raised to show where they were so people would know. After threatening to violently assault one of their members with a knife, this pair, half of this pair, burned the flag in front of the group before leaving. In a second incident, this is a report from Trans Mutual Aid Manchester. In the second incident, 3 men approached the picnic while shouting abuse, then tore down the remaining trans and non-binary pride flags before running off with them. While organizers reported the instances to the police, they said they do not expect any positive outcome from this. This was obviously an attack on our community, perpetrated by those who know they will face no repercussions for their attack. Like tying in with Linda's story about that doctor who leaked the information. We hope this can be something of a wake-up call to know the kind of rampant abuse we face by those who know they can attack us freely. Now, the organization said it would provide additional safety and security measures for future events, and asked for allies outside the community to help defend trans and non-binary individuals. Now, this is a little background. Anti-trans sentiment in the UK has increased over the last year following the release of the Cass Review, which I talked about at the time, a report claiming that gender-affirming care has no benefits for trans youth. The report has been widely criticized for excluding the experiences of trans people in trans-affirming medical studies. Nevertheless, government officials have repeatedly cited the report while restricting access to gender-affirming care for trans kids. More bad news. Greece bans surrogacy for homosexual male couples and singles men. A justice minister announced that single men and male couples in same-sex relationships will no longer be allowed to have children through surrogacy in the country. The amendment to the Greek Civil Code introduced changes to a family law, particularly clarifying the legal definition of the inability to carry a pregnancy.
What about women?
Women can do it, yeah. According to it made explicitly clear that men do not have the right to surrogacy. It still would be reserved exclusively for women, whether single or married, who are unable to conceive due to medical reasons. The minister defended the reform, saying it served a humanitarian purpose. Last year, Greece became the first majority Orthodox Christian country to legalize same-sex marriage. Conservative groups in the influential Greek Orthodox Church have strongly opposed the marriage equality law. Surrogacy laws vary widely across the world. While some countries regulate it, others ban the practice entirely, including Spain and Italy. Whereas in the U.S., so-called commercial surrogacy is widely practiced. Now I have
We
two.
have to move on now.
Oh, Linda, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, honey.
Things are getting upbeat in Europe and the rest of my coverage.
Well, I have a good story about Billie Jean King, and here's a picture of her. Has made history once again. The 81-year-old lesbian tennis legend has become the first woman to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in the new sports entertainment category. Her star was dedicated in a ceremony on Monday while she attended with her friends NBC star Magic Johnson and Oscar-winning actor Jamie Lee Curtis and her wife Ina Kloss. So here's a picture of Billie Jean King. And I will never in my lifetime forget that, watching that game that she played.
Between her and Bobby Riggs.
Yes.
And if we could sing, we could break out into a chorus of Philadelphia Freedom.
Yeah. Oh, what? I think everybody in the world was watching that. Anyway, Trump orders Women's History Museum to remove trans women or lose their funding.
I'm so glad that Harvard stood up to him.
Yeah.
Oh. And Columbia folded.
Columbia, I know.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We interrupt.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
We have strong views.
Romero, 31, was deported 3 weeks ago along with more than 200 other people because of alleged ties to the Venezuela gang Tren de Aragua. They were not given a hearing to contest the allegations. Romero was indicted because his tattoos were supposedly gang-related, but his lawyers have said they are not.
Who's Romero again?
He was deported.
His first name?
I don't have his first. I don't think they're giving a first name because they don't want to. I don't know.
Okay.
They didn't give a first name here in what I read. Like a majority of those deported, he has no criminal record in the United States and has no criminal record in Venezuela either. He was seeking asylum in the U.S. from prosecution in his home country. He was not allowed to attend his scheduled asylum hearing, even remotely. So. Leslie Cummings, a former California police officer, has been awarded $10 million in damages after winning a harassment lawsuit against her department.
Good.
Isn't that good news? All right.
They only facilitate change if they have to pay.
This is a sad story and probably an indication of what's to come. Leslie Cummings, a former Paul Aguilar, an AIDS activist in San Francisco, has received a letter from Social Security Administration demanding that he repay about $200,000 in disability benefits that he has received over the years.
Why?
Why? Because they think he could have worked, or he is working, and so why is he getting disability?
And they're targeting him because he's an AIDS activist.
Right, exactly.
And if his original disability was based on an HIV diagnosis,
Yeah.
this may be retroactive versus current payments.
They want all the money back.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. It's going to get nasty.
Or he is. Yeah.
Students at Iowa State University held a funeral on Wednesday for the school's LGBTQ center, which was forced to close due to a bill banning funding for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Oh. Charlie Doom's wife was 31 weeks pregnant when she began suffering complications from what was deemed life-threatening. The couple requested an emergency medical evaluation, which she said in the U.S. State Department denied twice. My wife was the first person that I have been able to find in the entire 61 history of USAID that was denied an obstetric medical evaluation, which is standard right of all foreign service officers and their families. Doom recently told CNN, Jake Tapper, as she was denied that right because Peter Morocco and others that are part of the administration deemed the funding for medical evaluation and hospitalization support for USAID officers wasn't necessary, and so they zeroed that line item out. So, just gets better and better.
You know, all of the people they fired and then found out the essential services that weren't being filled because these were the people who supported the essential service and they didn't realize the connection. Yeah.
And now I have a story about one of my favorite journalist comedians, Amber Ruffin. I love this woman. I've been watching her for years on YouTube, and she is incredible. But days after being dropped as a featured entertainer at this year's White House Correspondents' Dinner,
Yes.
comedian and writer Amber Ruffin made a surprise appearance on NBC Late Night with Seth Meyers Monday night to respond to the controversy. With her signature satire and biting commentary, on Saturday, President Eugene Daniels sent a letter to White House reporters informing them of a reimagining of the dinner, as he notified members that the comedy section of the annual event had been scrapped after a unanimous vote by the organization's board. Now, you know they roast everybody at those every year, you know? Not this year.
I want to see a
President-
clip of what she said to Seth Meyers.
I know.
I meant to look that up. I
Yeah.
bet it's available on YouTube.
Yeah, she's really, really good. But, you know, he's so threatened. He couldn't take anything. You know, anybody laughing at him would be just like, I mean, he just couldn't take it.
Well, and that she was queer and black and, you know.
I know.
She checked all the boxes.
Yeah. She was in, anyway, Utah bans gay flags in government buildings and schools.
People are boycotting Utah now.
When did we stop?
Yeah, as well they should.
Yeah. And the NIH is terminating active research grants related to LGBTQ plus DEI studies.
Both of them.
Oh, and here's a good news story. Not just lesbian, but it's women's sports bars are scoring big gains in 2025. I want one in Montpelier. With plans in the works that will quadruple their numbers by the end of the year. That's according to the NBC News analysis, which cities 3 new bars already opened this year, with 14 more expected to add to the frenzy. Those include venues in every region of the country, with openings planned in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, and smaller cities like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Kansas City, Missouri.
I think Charlie O's would share with you, and they already have pool tables.
Yeah,
I,
but there's some empty spaces down there in Montpelier. A women's sports bar, could be a good thing.
there you are.
And then a 23-year-old makeup artist with no ties to gangs affiliation was among hundreds of Venezuelan men deported to El Salvador prison without due process last week. Andres, who is gay and whose last name is being withheld due to concerns of his safety, initially arrived in the U.S. seeking asylum but was detained after immigration officials decided his tattoos could be a sign of gang affiliation. Though Andres was scheduled to appear in U.S. immigration court last week, he was forcibly removed from the country last weekend, despite the judge's order to keep him and over 250 other men on U.S. soil until further legal review. So,
Becca has been advocating for him.
yeah.
She's been
So-
advocating for everybody.
And she introduced the transgender healthcare bill.
So Europe.
Thank you. So I want to start with, it's been 3 years, but they're finally starting the trial on the murder of Fern Feather. Yesterday, they did the jury draw in Hyde Park Court. Some of the questions that were asked of the jurors, and this was by the state's attorney, do any of you have moral or religious beliefs against transsexuality? No hands went up. Do any of you have moral or religious beliefs against homosexuality? Again, no hands. But this question, whether potential jurors were annoyed by questions about their pronouns, there were a few raised hands. Do you think there should only be 2 genders? So how do you answer no to the first
The
two,
first 2
but
and
yes
then the
to
third. Yeah.
what the defense attorney did for questions? Were jurors generally able to change their minds when presented with new evidence? Had possible jurors ever been provoked by anyone or ever felt trapped? If someone causes the death of someone else, does that necessarily amount to murder? And it has already been put into the public media that the defense's case is going to be that Fern made unwelcomed sexual advances, and
I thought they couldn't use that as a defense anymore.
no, that's a gay panic defense. You cannot say this person was gay and came on to me and I didn't know what to do with that same sex interaction, therefore I responded based
Isn't
upon
this the
sexual
same thing?
orientation. Not necessarily. There's some nuance to it. They would have to show that some of the aversion was that the alleged perpetrator was responding to the transgender status. And then it would be,
Okay.
but that's, they're thinking this trial is going to last approximately a week. We should batten down the hatches because the things that are going to be presented and the things that are going to be said are going to be triggers for us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it could set up a whole, and First, a very quick shout out to Queer Connect in Bennington. Their board president, Jacqueline Matz, they were elected to the Bennington Town Council.
Oh, good.
So,
Yes.
and talking about triggering, our Secretary of Education,
Oh, gosh,
The-
don't get me started.
federal directive that schools ban illegal diversity, equity, and inclusion-related programs. Secretary Zoe Saunders sent out a letter to all of the school districts asking that they sign a certification that they were in compliance with the federal directive. This was the response from Ann's new favorite superintendent, Wilma Shavaria. I notified the secretary that I would not be signing anything. And this is the Winooski District Superintendent. I also requested that the state grow some courage and stop complying so quickly and without hesitation to the political-driven threats of the executive. And there was also a reference made to, why don't you stand up to them like New York has?
Yes.
It's what ended up happening is
California.
the letter was sent out, it was an email letter sent out on Friday. By Monday, the secretary was pulling it back saying, oh, no, that's not what we meant. We think that Vermont schools are in compliance, that each district did not have to sign a letter certifying, that the state would send one on behalf of the state. And then looking at some of the language, it was carefully crafted with Charity Clark, our Attorney General, who has filed multiple suits about executive orders, saying that we would be in compliance with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination in schools based on race, color, or national origin. So that, we will be in compliance with state and federal statutes. An executive order is not a statute. It is not a law, but I have concerns looking at what is currently or ongoing in Maine, where Maine has brought suit against the USDA because the USDA cut off funding for the school meals program because they were not in compliance with that directive about transgender athletes competing. Now, one of the federal appeals court has told the USDA, you cannot withhold that money, you have to release
They
it.
do whatever they want.
Well, and this was one of the things I was going to comment on, is there are orders that are being issued, but if you look at the follow-up news stories, the federal regime is simply not complying.
I know.
Like, I told you to bring the planes back. Oh, we're sorry,
They're
we
already
misunderstood.
gone.
Well, we misunderstood. There
Yeah.
were just,
And
when the state of Maine brought suit against the feds, the response back was, this is only the beginning. Though you are free to end it at any time by protecting women and girls in compliance with federal law. Well, no, the previous interpretation of both Title IX, Title VII was that gender identity and sexual orientation was protected under the definition of sex. So this is going to be a push me, pull me kind of situation. And since I'm running out of time,
Yes, we should move on.
well, no, I want to say very quickly that Planned Parenthood of Northern New England is closing their St. Johnsbury
I
clinic.
know.
My concern is that that's going to leave limited clinics here in Vermont. The nearest one to St. Johnsbury is going to be the Berry Clinic. Planned Parenthood of Northern New England and Vermont has been the primary gender-affirming care facility for our transgender community, so I have real concerns.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I just feel compelled to say that in terms of the letter that Zoe Saunders is sending to the federal government, I think it's a gesture of compliance. And so I think...
And Scott pushed her in
and,
over the
yes,
objections of,
the legislature.
right,
and she comes out of Florida.
right.
So,
So what's going on there, folks? And when the next election comes up, keep this in mind, please.
right, right. Two good stories from Europe. One is, I'd like to show you a picture of a trans Norwegian politician, Karina Oldegard, who wants to give asylum to transgender people fleeing Trump's policies. She's a Green Party candidate, district spokesperson, vying to become the first out trans member of Norway's parliament, and they said they would like to extend asylum to trans folks fleeing the U.S. The comments were made during a recent interview. She said she empathizes with the transgender community in the U.S., saying public affirmation and recognition is key to living a full and happy life as a trans person. So when she witnessed the policies of the Trump administration targeting trans folks, she felt the need to respond. When we see developments in the U.S. where rights are being withdrawn through pure legal and political persecution, I believe it should provide grounds for asylum. She also said she wants to open a dialogue about how the public affirms and makes accommodations for transgender people. So that, and my other, this is maybe my favorite story. Hungary's Pride ban elicited this this Gray Pride March, which was launched in mockery of the anti-Pride March law in Hungary. Their reasoning is that humor exposes the absurd.
It's the motto we've lived by.
Members of the LGBTQ community in Hungary gathered in Budapest to mock the right-wing government's recently passed law banning pride parades. And, you know, I couldn't show you all these pictures. There's one that has a big banner, illiberal democracy. And another one shows all these people dressed sort of in pointed hats and capes, all in gray. Because the idea is that, the parade was organized by a parody political party called Two-Tailed Dog Party. Demonstrators waved flags that were monochrome and held ironic signs with satirical slogans such as "sameness is trendy." Look at all these people here now dressed in gray, a perfect display of what sameness looks like, a demonstrator said. That's the twist, of course. We don't expect everyone to be the same. Another protester noted, humor exposes the absurd, and though homosexuality is legal in Hungary and discrimination based on sexuality and gender is against the law, same-sex marriage is defined as between a man and a woman, and LGBTQ couples can't adopt children. So this took place on Saturday. Rather than protesting with rainbow flag colors, they went gray for a tongue-in-cheek jibe at the anti-queer law.
Good.
So now let me show you.
Do you have any clips?
I do. Let's turn to one right now. The World Unseen is a British, South African 2007 movie that takes place during the apartheid era. It's available on Apple TV, YouTube, and Amazon Prime. Let's take a look now at The World Unseen. It's a 2007 film, so you should be able to get it easily.
Daddy, is it fall?
They're lost in the country.
You like it there? We need to work hard. That's all.
Amina, this gentleman here is looking for someone to help build him a garden.
I can do it. She thinks a lot of herself. Maybe she should. She owns a business and she's one of us.
Stop that bloody noise! We all know it's an offense for blacks to eat in the same place as whites.
There are no whites here. Present company excluded. Why should you take that risk? Because I hate apartheid. I came to see if Miriam would cook for the cafe.
Your place is here with me.
I wish I could be more like you. Be careful what you wish for.
Let me help you.
That's a stupid thing to do. We don't owe those people anything.
I didn't know you had a fearless streak. I'm just a housewife and a mother. Has anyone ever looked after you?
People are talking about her, not just you.
Doesn't matter what people think, doesn't it?
We'll stop this depravity.
We won't be seeing her anymore.
I've lived my own way my whole life, and it can be done. Not for me. Every time I look at you, I want you to stay forever.
Well, thank you.
Add
Interesting.
it to our list of viewing.
What's that?
We will add it to the list
I
of
know it
viewing.
is much lesbian content. A woman is married,
Yeah.
etc. Okay, bad news from Asia. I'd like to show you a picture now of Parwan Rusini and Marian Ravish, their lovers. The Taliban has arrested and tortured some LGBTQ activists, one of whom is Mariam Ravish. The three of them, Parwan Husseini, 20, and she's a lesbian, and she and Abdul Ghafoor Sabari, a trans woman who goes by the chosen name Maeve, were getting on a plane. And so the Mayim Ravish's lover got on first. Parwan got on first, and she landed in Iran. But the other two, her lover and the trans friend, were stopped they grabbed their phone and found LGBTQ content, so they arrested them. And they're really afraid for their fate.
Well, sure.
Peter Tatchell Foundation in London is working on trying to appeal to world pride groups to intervene. When Mariam and May went to board the plane, they were detained by the Taliban's intelligence unit, who searched their phones, as I just said that. Maeve and Mariam were beaten by the Taliban. They are expected to be tortured to reveal the names of LGBTQ people and sentenced to a long jail term and possibly executed.
Oh, jeez.
So Parwan Husseini, Miriam's lesbian partner, got on the flight, and she has a video documenting in Farsi what's happened. And they're still being held in captivity. Maeve's family hasn't gotten in touch with them because then the woman in Iran gets death threats from the parents of the two people arrested. So not only is the Taliban after them, but their parents are threatening them. In Mariam's, so the LGBTQ rights organization in Afghanistan said in Miriam's case, her family refused to accept her sexuality as a lesbian and forced her to marry a man. She tried to escape, and Maeve, a trans person, helped her at great personal risk. Miriam and Maeve now face the death penalty for simply wanting to be free and happy. Please unite to mediate for their release. Now, speaking of the Taliban, Russia has officially moved to legalize it. They were they labeled it a terrorist group, but now that there's so much dissent about Russia's invasion of Ukraine, now they're calling them an ally.
We have a few minutes, and we have to leave Keith enough time to do his.
Okay, I have two
The
things.
trivia.
Two more things. Russia bans Elton John's Aid Foundation over its service to LGBTQ rights. It's designated it an undesirable association. According to Federal Agency for Public Health, more than 1.2 million people in Russia have HIV, highest per capita rate in Europe. And finally, a Russian tennis star, Daria Kostina, and let's look at a picture of her. She has confirmed that she switched allegiance to Australia because of Russian homophobia, and now Australia welcomes her.
Good.
In the tennis world. Fini.
I'm on my way to Norway.
Are you?
And we don't have to go to the Soviet Union because the current regime just told the 30-member Presidential Council on HIV that their services were no longer required.
I know it.
So the trivia question, zodiac sign based on a rape myth, Ganymede, whose beauty was unparalleled, excited the passion of Zeus, who in the guise of an eagle bore him away to Mount Olympus. Ganymede remained on Olympus and became Zeus's cupbearer and lover. Zeus gifted Ganymede's father high-stepping horses, such as those that carry the immortals, as recompense for his son. Ganymede, the water-bearer, is the sign of Aquarius. And very quickly, some statistics about sexual violence. 47% of lesbians, 75% of bisexual women have reported sexual violence in their lifetime. 40% of gay men, 47% of bisexual men have reported sexual violence in their lifetimes. 47% of transgender people have experienced sexual
I
assault.
find women so much.
I'm going to prove you're straight. All you really need is a good man. And I wish I were joking. But so based on everything you've heard here tonight,
And more.
Run for the hills.
now more than ever.
Resist.